if I tried this on this ship and I was a civilian, I'd get my head slapped. What you doing up here, boy? Slap. And then I'd be walking back to the civilian deck with my tail between my legs, squealing like a pig.
Wait, it was a cube?
Always has been. ...
But to connect. That's episode 7 of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. But to connect, including the 3 dots at the beginning. Make of that what you will. I will inform you that I believe that line is uttered at some point in this episode script. So what we have here is a case of a not so clever title that is derived entirely from on-screen dialogue. We all remember where the origin of the name Star Trek came from. You've seen the movie First Contact. Star Trek First Contact. Zefram Cochrane says, you're all on some kind of Star Trek. And that's where we got the name Star Trek in, what was it, 1996 or something when that movie came out? But yeah. Some people love that movie. Some people think it's far and away in the top 3 Star Trek films, by the way, First Contact. I'm getting way off topic, but back to Discovery. It's getting so difficult to just sit down and turn these episodes on. Holy crap. It's getting rough, guys. It's starting to get hard to even watch. If not for this YouTube channel, I probably would not be watching this show, honestly. I would not be watching it. I would be watching Lower Decks and Prodigy only. And just when I thought I couldn't, I could. And just when I thought it was possible, it was possible. I went on to TrekCore, that website, and lo and behold, Star Trek Discovery is taking a break for 5 weeks. We're going back to Prodigy, guys. This is the last one I have to withstand. So I'm actually going to enjoy doing this the next few weeks. So hopefully that comes through in the quality of the video. Without further ado, let's just spore drive right into Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7. ... But to connect. Let's get connecting, guys. Can't wait. So, this episode is what I imagine people used to make fun of Star Trek for being. People used to say, ooh, you like Star Trek? That show with all the talking where nothing happens? I think this is what they were talking about just 30 some years late. This episode is a talkie. Here's what you're doing. Here's what I need you to do. I shouldn't complain that much. I mean, a talkie episode is way better than a bad action episode, am I right? This episode was all debating. Our A plot and our B plot was a series of debates. And for what it's worth, just watching that, it was a million times more interesting than most other Discovery episodes. So if you can't tell, I'm a little bit positive towards this one. However, I feel I'm positive because it was kind of like a lack of bad rather than an abundance of good, if you can understand me. It's good in the same way a nighttime walk is when you're completely alone and you don't meet a dangerous predatory animal. It's good in that way, if you catch my drift. So Tarka is returning in this episode, the Ryzen scientist who's developing a way to combat the DMA. That's the dark matter anomaly, on which this entire season hinges. And we're having an assembly, guys, at Starfleet headquarters. And we got Earth, we got Navarre, we got noticeable lack of Klingons, which makes me think. Orions are there, I believe. We got Ferengi. The whole gamut. And we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do about the DMA. How do we approach this? We got to get in a big, long, cylindrical room and talk about it. We're gonna vote some shit up. Let's vote this shit up right now, guys. And meanwhile, the DMA is like, go ahead, boys. I'm gonna destroy another planet. By the way, we're all still running on the assumption that this is man-made. I don't know why. I mean, honestly, and we're all still just assuming that we think it comes from outside this galaxy. I don't know why. I mean, this episode, at the very beginning, we're getting a key piece of bad technobab blow to the way, which gives way to a pretty decent script after that point, I'm going to be honest with you. If we can get over that tiny little problem. Zora, the ship's computer, is saying there's 147 different possibilities for the origin point of the DMA device. And, I found it. I found the one that it is, and it's outside this galaxy. And wouldn't you know it, we all knew it. It's been building for 2 seasons now. Zora is fully sentient now, and she's decided, you know what? I'm not going to tell you where the species is that created the DMA is, because you're just going to spore drive there and get yourselves killed. So Burnham is just like, tell me where the coordinates are. That's an order. I'm the captain. And then the computer's like, no. Like a conch shell. And the entire episode is about undoing that statement. That's one of the 2 focal points of this episode. Zora doesn't want to give the people the coordinates of where to go to fight the DMA designers. And we have to fix that somehow. There's your B plot. Your A plot is voting, as I mentioned before. Are we going to A, send a peaceful first contact mission to the creators of the DMA by finding their coordinates and assumingly we're going to spore drive there? Or do we B, attempt to destroy the DMA now with Tarka's new revealed device? He barged down the conversation during the voting process and what have you at Starfleet headquarters and revealed to everyone firsthand his design for the device that's going to destroy the DMA, but leave the power source on the inside intact. Why does he want to do that? Book and Tarka never look like friends, but we switched on a dime in this episode. That's another thing that seems to signify this season. Changing your mind on a dime. But we'll get more into that later. Book has he squirrels away for a meeting with Tarka and asks him, like, you seem awful dedicated to destroying this DMA. And he's like, well, any good galactic citizen would be, right? Haha, wink, wink. Like, we both know what's up here. Book is slightly psychic, I guess, from his Quajian ancestry. And Tarka knows he's not a great liar. So they know, like, Book knows that Tarka knows that he knows that something's up. So let's come up with it. That scar on the back of Tarka's neck, it was actually something that was given to him by the Emerald Chain. If you don't remember them, they're the Orion Syndicate sequel, the Orion Syndicate 2, that we saw last season and we defeated when we killed Osira, I guess it was. The outrageous Osira. How could I forget? Regardless, Tarka reveals that he needs the power source to go back to his home universe. Apparently, he's from another universe, not the mirror universe. He's from a different universe. He knows that Book knows about the mirror universe, but he squashes that theory and says, no, I'm from a different universe. But I need the power source at the center of the DMA to go home. And I also have to go there to see if my partner made it, because there was another scientist that he was working with when he was captured by the Emerald Chain, and then he escaped to the Federation. And it was a great piece of acting. The conversation between Book and Tarka was well done. It was well written. I really believed the emotion of the scene. Tarka and Book stole this episode entirely. I like him a lot now, and I hope they don't ruin him. Don't ruin him. Don't make him a villain. Please, don't make him a villain. I know any minute now they're going to turn around and say, oh yeah, Tarka designed the DMA and he's evil and blah, blah, blah. He's not from a good universe. He's from the mirror universe. Don't do that. He's starting to grow on me a little bit. Don't do that. I'm starting to see the other side of his coin. That's what I'm saying. And I think you could too if you watch this episode. So it's clear that Book is on the side of Tarka here. We want to destroy the anomaly, okay? We want to destroy it. We want to extract its power source, yada, yada, yada. Knock-on effect of destroying it is that it helps Tarka go home. Why it is that he couldn't explain this to the Federation outright and say he wants to go home, I have no idea why he couldn't really. Maybe he's just mind-melted from being enslaved by the Orion Syndicate. Emerald Chain, sorry. That's my excuse for why he wouldn't tell the Federation, because this is right up the Federation's alley. We need to help this guy get home. Let's create a power source that we can use to go to another universe and send this guy home. You know, it sounds like a mission for Starfleet. That sounds like a fun time. That sounds like a good season. But instead we got intrigue and drama and sadness and fighting. All kinds of fighting. So we're having our vote, and it looks like the Peaceniks won out. So we're going to do a quote-unquote peaceful first contact with the alien race, if they are aliens, wink wink, that designed the DMA. And wouldn't you know it, Michael argues on behalf of the peaceful solution, and Book argues on behalf of the destructive solution. So they are in love with each other, but they are at odds. So there's a philosophical kernel here of thought. This episode actually asks a few philosophical questions. Can you go against your significant other for the sake of protecting your own ideals? It is Michael's ideal inside and Starfleet's ideal that we approach this peacefully. Okay? Book does not agree, but Book has suffered personally at the hands of the DMA. His home planet was destroyed. They're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes with this. They're trying to show you two options that both look good. They build up the best possible case for each, and then they challenge the audience to think about it, which is something they never do anymore. They always make it so clear-cut, so obvious, so off the wall, that it's basically a mustache-twirling villain versus angelic god beings. That's what the plots have been in the last few seasons of Discovery, but now it's not. Now it's a little bit gray, and I like that. It's edgy, and it's thinking a little bit, actually. Too bad we couldn't get writing like this through the whole series. No character is particularly super annoying. However, we do have a few nasty scenes of Gray and Adira. Gray being a civilian, by the way, barging into different rooms on Discovery without any clearance. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. I wouldn't want to have a ship like that. If I tried this on this ship and I was a civilian, I'd get my head slapped. What you doing up here, boy? Slap. And then I'd be walking back to the civilian deck with my tail between my legs, squealing like a pig. So there's your A plot. Your B plot is Zora's becoming a person. What is we gonna do? Zora decides that she or he or it is a sentient being and therefore has an opinion and can feel fear and doesn't want to give the crew the coordinates to the origin point of the DMA. Okay, if I was a person, I would be afraid too to do something like that. But I also am a computer and I'm a part of the Discovery. It is specifically stated that Zora's form is the Discovery. Okay, and the suggestion is brought up to extract Zora. Zora designs a device that is a failsafe that can destroy her should anything bad happen. All a show of good faith. However, I ask the obvious question. We have programmable matter. Why can we not create a new Discovery for Zora to live in if Zora's form is a Discovery? That's never alluded to, I don't think, but I think we may be alluding to giving her a physical body that lives on the ship, which is kind of like some other sci-fi thing I saw before, but I can't remember what, where the ship itself is represented, the computer of the ship itself is represented by a physical body that moves around like the crew. Kovich is deliberating what to do about Zora. Stamets is taking the tack that Zora should be eliminated. Everyone else is saying, well, no, Zora's a person and she needs to be respected. much like how Gray has a synthetic body and a real soul, so too does Zora have a quote-unquote soul and a robotic ship body, right? So you can see why Adira and Gray would side with Zora on this. So eventually it comes down to this idea that, well, Kovich says that Zora is a new life form. We're here in space to find new life. Well, there it sits. If you remember the episode Measure of a Man, Star Trek The Next Generation. Questions brought up in that episode are brought up again in this and elaborated upon in a new way. So it's eventually decided that Zora should join Starfleet as a specialist. So Zora has a field commission as a mission specialist for Starfleet. So Zora is upholding the same rules, the same consequences for her actions as everybody else. So now we are going forward with a ship that is itself in Starfleet. Is that safe? I still have a lot of the reservations that Stamets had. However, Stamets is deemed wrong by Kovich. And at the end of the episode, Kovich is like, I'm still thinking about extracting Zora. And Stamets says, no, that's not a good idea. Zora's a person now. We can't extract her. And Kovich is like, my evaluation is finished. Kovich, the guy who runs Starfleet Academy, I believe. And Stamets is like, what would you have said if I agreed to extract Zora? And then Stamets says that. And then Kovich is like, I would have recommended you transferred off this ship. And Stamets is like, as it should be. What? Kovich just said he would have recommended Starfleet transfer Stamets off the Discovery onto a different ship if Stamets had agreed to extract Zora. Think about that for 1 second. Okay? Why, if you've seen Discovery up to this point, why might you not want to transfer Stamets off the Discovery? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're out of time. Stamets is the only person in Starfleet so far that can operate a spore drive. How could anyone suggest transferring Stamets off the Discovery, let alone Kovich? Think about it. Did we think about this before I wrote it? This is insane. What? If I was Kovich and I brought that up with Vance, I would expect Vance to fire me on the spot. You're telling me that you want to transfer Stamets off the Discovery. Are you stupid? I guess you're stupid. How can we possibly go on having you in this position of power if you're that stupid? I think that, I watched this episode 3 times and then slept on it and watched it again. And that line kept coming back to me. And I think that's the line that hurts this episode the most. Kovich was thinking of transferring Stamets off the Discovery if Stamets had said he wanted to extract Zora from the Discovery. Big no-no. Big stupid. That's big stupid to me. That's big dum-dum. Much like this show. However, this episode ends with Book saying, you know what? I ain't in Starfleet. I don't care what they vote on. I'm going to go blow up that DMA on my onesies. And he takes Tarka with him. And Tarka takes a Next Generation spore drive that fits in his hand that he drops onto the navigation console of Book's ship, and it immediately absorbs into the interface of Book's ship and gives it a spore drive. That fast. 930 years really hits you fast, doesn't it? Technology advances, things get smaller, and now the spore drive can fit in the palm of your hand. Just about. And wouldn't you know it, Tarka and Book spore drive away to go fight the DMA on their own. Book having access to knowledge that nobody else does. Book knows Tarka's just trying to go home. Maybe if we had told people that, Michael's opinion about this would have been different because Michael is watching Book's ship leave and she's going, "No, don't leave, no." But Book thankfully thought to leave behind his cat for Michael to look after. So the cat's okay. I don't know if Michael is going to be okay with this, and I don't know if Book's going to survive, or Tarka, but here we go. Two-pronged approach, buddy. One of them is going in hot, and the other one's going in cold. Michael's going in peacenik style, and Book and Tarka are going in guns blazing. And that's where the episode ends. And we have to wait a few more weeks to see the exciting conclusion. Are we excited? Me personally, not really. But this episode, if you think about it philosophically, which the writers never do, there is a kernel of a philosophical idea here. When does a sentient computer become a person? And when can we trust our ideals over our significant other? Michael is debating for the peaceful approach to combating the DMA, and Book is going with the violent approach. They're essentially a couple. So when can we put love aside and think objectively? When do we get to that point? These are your philosophical kernels of this episode, which thankfully the entire script of the episode hinges around. Okay? There's a few bad parts, but it's interesting that when you have a philosophically decently designed question to ask, you can hinge the entire episode around it, have no action at all, and have it not be boring. Isn't that something? Now imagine how good this show would be if we had writing like this with good action, with good consequences. It would be a pretty good show. It would still be wildly non-canon looking. However, we are in the future now. So, barring the first two seasons, it would be a lot better, you know? Traditionally, Star Trek, if you take TNG, for example, and Deep Space Nine at that, it usually takes about 3 seasons to get on its footing. And we're at season 4 now, and we're over halfway through season 4 at this point. And it's not even in the same galaxy, quote unquote, as TNG was at season 3 or Deep Space Nine. It's not even close. However, this episode makes it feel like this season could end well. It's amazing to me that we could, my opinion about this season could completely change on a dime that fast, because the first half of the season was just messing around. We were just screwing around. We were just pausing for time. We were treading water and we were circling the wagons. And now it finally feels like something's about to happen finally in this gosh dang season. So my opinion changed on a dime, much like the opinions of the characters in this episode. Book hated Tarka. Tarka gave him one speech. Now they're friends, partners in crime, if you will. And Stamets hated Zora, hated the idea of Zora being on the ship after what they had dealt with regards to Control a few seasons ago. And now he's gung-ho about Zora being in Starfleet after a well-placed speech. You'd swear Kirk was on board. He's not. That's Discovery Season 4, Episode 7. Visually boring. We got to see one shot of Discovery in dock, which was kind of cool. We got to see the inside of like a conference room at Starfleet, which was pretty cool. Nothing amazing. We got to hear some interesting things though. At the end of this episode, there was a very interesting like piano track that I enjoyed. So Jeff Russo, again, if he is still indeed doing the background music for this series, he's doing a decent job. His theme song sucks, but the background music, if it's him doing it, it's not bad. It catches the ear, if you will. So we looked at my emotional response. Immediately, I kind of liked it. Objectively, later, after I had time to think about it, there was a few bad lines here and there that really was drawing it down. Interesting sound. Visuals kind of boring, par for the course at this point. Where are we going from here? Are we potentially going to have an okay season? if we get a real sense of adventure for the last half of the season, I'd say it's better than 2 and possibly 3. I am intrigued with Tarka. I hope Tarka's not lying. I hope he's a good guy. So that was Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7, But to Connect. We're over halfway through. Have we connected? Have you connected? I'm going to have to give this episode a 5.5. It's a little bit better than nothing. I'm more happy after having watched it than having not watched it, per se. 5 out of 10 is just barely getting to the finish line. Didn't feel good, didn't feel bad. I feel slightly better than normal. It didn't completely waste my time, like many episodes this season. I'm looking at you, Anomaly, episode 2. So this one's a 5.5. What do you guys think? Was it terrible? Was it good? It's been a long road getting from there to here. But is our time finally near? I don't know. See you guys next time.